Hello folks, Min-Max Munchkin back with an update video for one of my oldest, in fact the oldest character build on this channel, the Ultimate Assassin. If you haven't watched it yet, the link to it will be somewhere at the top of this video and in the description below it. This is the first video addressing and talking about some of my older work. Hopefully it won't be the last one. Apparently not a single soul inhabiting this wet rock floating through the plains knows what's up with this oriental sickness that's been flooding the news over the last few weeks. So I don't even know what to think of it anymore. Anyhow, the reason for this video is due to a few YouTube comments, Patreon members and grizzled min-maxing optimizer veterans pointing out the build in fact doesn't deliver as much damage as it could be delivering if you just change and rearrange a few things within it. In this video I'm going to reveal several key areas and ways to improve it even further beyond! In terms of damage output and overall combat effectiveness. First things first, let's talk about the race. Instead of a variant human, like I did back in 2018, you should pick the good old wood elf instead. This will postpone the feat progression, but also allow you to distribute the ability score points for a specific racial feat that this character can benefit from significantly. The feat that I'm talking about is of course Elven Accuracy. The true extent of power it offers can be deceptive if you don't know what the math behind it is. Look, it's certainly true that rolling 3d20, or what's colloquially been referred to as super advantage, actually isn't nearly as advantageous as it might seem at first. I'm going to leave a link in the description below this video which accurately, yes, pun fully intended, explains the math behind diminishing returns you get on your investment in this feat. And since you're probably already scrolling down below to check it out, might as well assassinate that like button, you know, make it blue, let the big bad evil guy YouTube algorithm know that the party of murder hobos is coming for it, so it's time to open the floodgates and let the Kraken splash thousands of wet views all over my channel. Nevertheless, other than the 14.26% chance to roll natural 20, I find Elven Accuracy best used for something else. The feat basically almost guarantees you will never roll a natural 1, and at the same time provides an effective chance of 99.2% that at least one of the 3d20s will roll at least 5 in all sorts of circumstances, right? This is where good old archery fighting style comes into play as well, with an additional +2 to hit from it stacked on top of the +5 bonus from maxed out dexterity score and a +6 proficiency bonus you eventually get at level 17. You will almost always roll at least 18 on any given attack roll that you have advantage on. And speaking of advantage, let me just quickly remind you that there are two main ways this build can obtain it on its own. First is the good old assassinate feature from the assassin rogue, which gives you advantage if you take a turn before the target of your many attacks. Attacks that rain down guaranteed critical damage on every hit if you successfully pull off what's known as a surprise round. I know some of you are already smashing your keyboards in the comment section and letting me know that there is no such thing as a surprise round, but for the sake of simplicity, let's just call it like that, okay? Obviously, if you want to increase your odds of getting higher initiative results, Alert Feat gives you a flat +5 bonus, and a Gloomstalker Ranger's Dread Ambusher adds your Wisdom modifier to your initiative on top of the additional attack and damage during the first round of combat. The second way to get advantage, one which I think is much more reliable in all sorts of situations, is another Gloomstalker Ranger's level 3 feature called Umbral Sight. It makes you completely invisible in darkness to creatures that rely on dark vision. It doesn't make you hidden by default, you still have to take the hide action, but this is where your roguish expertise in stealth comes into play. With double proficiency bonus, it's much easier to hide when you're already invisible. It's not too much of a hard sell to ask a DM to just give you advantage on stealth checks every time you're in total darkness. One caveat with this is that it can result in gaining meta knowledge about creatures' senses, because if you suddenly don't get advantage at some point, you would know the creature has one or more special senses other than dark vision. Still, the DM can decide to simply give disadvantage to the creature's passive and active perception checks if they are relying on dark vision to spot you, so make sure you remind him or her how terribly annoying and deadly you are in the absence of any light source. Also, unlike Variant Human, which doesn't have any dark vision and gains only 30 feet of it from this feature, your standard Elvish 60 feet dark vision is extended to 90 feet, allowing you to be farther away and expanding your options for proper positioning and hiding. None of this ultimately even matters if you have just one attack, a problem all single class rogues face. You can take a 5th level in Ranger for that sweet extra attack feature. In fact, this is probably what you should do if you're playing a lower level character, but for characters that do go past level 10, taking a bunch of levels in Fighter is the best way to increase the overall damage output and, well, combat effectiveness. Instead of just taking 6 levels in Arcane Archer Fighter like I recommended back in 2018, and as many as 10 levels in Assassin Rogue, I think 12 levels of Battlemaster Fighter instead with just 4 in Assassin Rogue will provide a relatively sort of minor but quite meaningful increase of your average damage per round. And even without a surprise, you will be quite competitive in terms of damage because you will be able to stack Sneak Attack from Rogue and Hunter's Mark from Ranger on top of your combat superiority maneuvers and 3 attacks you get once you get that second extra attack feature as a level 11 fighter. Action Surge will definitely come in play as well whenever you need to dump as much damage as fast as possible. Once you combine the already established minimum of 18 on any given attack roll with Battlemaster's Precision Maneuver, it's only logical to take the Sharpshooter feat on top and laugh as you're shredding the monster's hit points with your many attacks and chunky damage every time you hit. Yes, this does mean you will lose out on Rogue's juicy defensive features like Uncanny Dodge and Evasion, but Fighter comes equipped with something equally potent if not even better. Indomitable feature that you get at level 9 helps with all saving throws, not just dexterity, so once your DM finally gets sick of you deleting all of his or her monsters, you will have a better odds of succeeding on that Dominate Person spell or maybe a ghost possessing you and murdering all of your other party members that way. And even with all these tools at your disposal, there is still a decent chance you will fail on your stealth check roll badly on initiative, miss the attack roll you mustn't miss, or fail a dangerous saving throw. Lucky Feet comes to the rescue in all of those circumstances. Yes, some DMs outright ban the feat, others nerf it, some don't allow any feats at all. If actually this last thing is the case, I guess you can just stop watching this video right away and go play Lore Bard, because this build won't work half as good without all of these damn feats. Basically, I can't account for all of those possibilities, it's table by table circumstances. I'm simply suggesting what the game offers to all players, so good communication with your DM is crucial in this case as it is in all other cases. In terms of progression, there are multiple ways you can go about it in lower and higher tiers of play. I don't necessarily think this character even has a level where everything comes online. You can be effective from level 1 and simply gradually collect features that provide mechanical support for the assassin archetype. One thing that I still think holds true to this day is that starting in Rogue as your first level class is the best overall long-term investment, even though it definitely will postpone your extra attack feature. Dexterity and intelligence saves in particular are better than the dexterity, strength or constitution saving throws that you get with fighter or ranger. Granted, intelligence saving throws are not as common as wisdom saving throws, but we've all seen how gruesome mind flayers and intellect devourers can be in those Baldur's Gate 3 gameplay previews, right? I'm also fairly certain you don't want such monsters meddling with your mind, and well, intelligence saving proficiency significantly improves your survival odds against such monsters, so there you go. In tier 1 and 2 up to level 10, I'd go with a tried and tested ranger rogue approach. You can invest heavily in fighter too, but you will definitely lose out on and postpone the features that mechanically support the assassin flavor and vibe. At higher levels, it's merely a question of what level you start at and how much you care about pure, consistent combat effectiveness versus the flavor of a character that combines magical and mundane means to sneak around and assassinate monsters and enemies. I'd say investing in fighter earlier on is better because it will make you less dependent on surprise scenarios and circumstances, but if you live for the one-turn kill glory, by all means go for it, right? So, how much damage on average can you do do with a level 20 build like this. Without going into the, in my opinion, pointless hit probability calculations against various armor classes, you know, sometimes with a disadvantage you roll 2 natural 20s, sometimes with advantage you roll 2 natural 1s. The game of D&D is like a low sample scenario where you roll dice and the statistics do matter, but only to an extent. Sometimes when you roll badly, you just roll badly and you cannot do anything about it, right? Let's take the tried and tested route of just calculating the average damage and leave the hit or miss business to the dice gods, because pretty much you are at the whims of luck every time you roll the attack rolls. Granted, again, Elven Accuracy will certainly help avoid natural ones, but you can still roll low, right? Especially if you're dealing with high AC monsters. Now, back in 2018, for some reason, I decided to include Purple Worm Poison into the damage calculations. I did the with or without poison averages, but ever since then, I kind of made it a point on this channel to avoid including any rare or expensive gear and magic items that you don't have a high probability of obtaining, instead opting to just rely on class features and spells alone. However, these days on YouTube, you know how it goes, you cannot really get noticed without a borderline unhealthy dose of clickbait in titles and thumbnails, so in the interest of delivering on the promise that probably made you click on this video, I will just assume you do eventually get access to an item that so many people mentioned and recommended in the comment sections of those old Ultimate Assassin videos from 2018. What I'm talking about is the fabled Oathbow, right? And since Assassin Rogue specifically gets proficiency in Poisoner's Kit tool, it kind of does make at least a little bit of a sense to include Purple Worm Poison into the calculation, just to see what's possible, right? Besides the steep cost and availability issues associated with such a potent venom, a lot of higher challenge rating monsters are actually resistant or even flat out immune to poison damage, which is why I ultimately decided not to include the poison damage in the number you saw on the thumbnail this time around. This small difference of about 330 something damage not being advertised on a thumbnail has probably cost me thousands of views on this video already at this point. However, let me seize this opportunity to appeal to your emotions and say that since I'm not a level 100 scumbag, like maybe some other YouTubers, but an ordinary level 1 YouTube crook, how about you scroll down below one more time and assassinate the subscribe and notification bell icons as well. You already murder hoboed the like button before, right? It's been dead blue for a while, so like a true assassin who already committed to his kill, there's really no point leaving any witnesses behind, right? Alright, I know, I won't waste any more of your time. Here's the big dig damages you want and need to fantasize about for the next 2 weeks. Let's lay down everything we have at our disposal first, with a plus 17 stealth and plus 14 initiative bonus and a lucky feat. Let's assume you successfully sneak close by and roll a higher initiative than your target, which is some generic bag of hundreds of hit points that you need to turn into Swiss cheese. Level 12 fighter's base attack action provides 3 longbow attacks. Rogue's sneak attack adds 2d6 extra damage on one of those attacks. Gloomstalker's Dread Ambusher stacks 1 additional attack that deals 1d8 extra damage, so that's 4 attacks total. Flat damage bonuses are plus 5 from dexterity and plus 10 from sharpshooter feat. Action surge basically doubles the number of attacks, so 8 on your first turn in combat. Bonus action stacks 1d6 worth of hunter's mark damage onto all of your attacks. And let's just say that you are extra greedy and extra lucky and are using all of your maneuvers and superiority dice for damage instead of accuracy using your precision maneuver. That's 1d10 extra damage on 5 out of 8 of those attacks. Let's say you had enough time beforehand to dip 8 arrows into poison. That's 12d6 extra damage per arrow. The poison damage dice doesn't get doubled because they are in effect of a constitution save, not a critical hit. Nevertheless, Oathbow, magic item, magic weapon, stacks additional 3d6 worth of damage per attack. All weapon damage is magical because Oathbow is a magical weapon, so you won't have to worry about piercing damage resistances and immunities. All dice except poison dice are doubled because assassinate feature turns all hits into crits. This results in the potential average of almost 850 damage. Even without all the poison and oath bow stacking crap ton of extra damage, you can still dish out almost 350 damage in the surprise first turn of combat. And if you're forced to use precision maneuver because maybe you're dealing with a high armor class monster, it will increase your accuracy at the expense of your damage, but even then you can still unload about 290 damage into a monster in your first turn of combat if you just decide to go all in. This is literally on par with or even more damage than most Sorkadin and Paladin Nova builds out there can do in the first round of combat. Now granted, those Gish characters can maintain high damage output over multiple rounds, but once they are out of spell slots and other resources they need for damage, they are kind of done for the day. You, on the other hand, can output this type of damage once per short rest, and you can still maintain a respectable base damage per round with 3 attacks per round with or without surprise. And based on feedback and comments on the old 2018 Ultimate Assassin videos, a character like this can and definitely probably will be loads of fun to play, and in some cases cause a lot of headaches to DMs not ready, not prepared to deal with a murder machine like this one. It works optimally on higher levels of course, but even a simple low level rogue ranger multiclass can deliver a crap ton of damage on its own, and in terms of roleplay potential it's kind of a lone wolf type of character, but Battlemaster maneuvers allow you to mechanically be more team play oriented if you want to pursue that route. As you can see me scrolling through it on the screen, I updated my old Word file with new information, went a bit more into detail about some things, and did my best to clarify potentially confusing or contradicting information. If you would like to download this file, head on over to my Patreon page and pledge into the Magical Secrets tier. As always, it's not mandatory, it's 100% optional, but if you find the Patreon perks worth the trouble and worth your money, consider supporting my efforts there. Special shout out to all of my patrons: Mike, Matthew, Ewing, BardlyManHardlyTrying, Larry Hocken, Rogor, Kaleron, SuburbanHell, Albert Kwak, Aidan Harth, Gary Kors, Oldham, C Alcazar, Bredwin, Sean, Mannozzi Stefano, Adekoya, bittenbi, Jeremy, Sirois, ShatteredSilence, Devin Jache, Lunatic Dragon, Dark Sin, Ebon Hawk, Jeff Clem, Alex Bell, Harry Howell, Cracked Mask, Alexandre Ode, Nathan A.S., Nicholas Joseph, Francisco Martinez, Keelan Udell 18, Russ Helms, James Orendov, Rich Wesley Schick, Nidis 12, and Edge Walker. Thank you for your continued support. I will make sure you get many more videos like this one in the following weeks and months, unless, of course, the deadly Oriental virus wipes us all out. Let's hope that doesn't happen. With everything said and done, MinMax Munchking out, and talk to you soon.